Yeah, with that, we will move along to long ball number 2. We're going to dot the map here, and we're dotting the map with new teams, but also supporters of this show over the weekend. Shout out to Mike in Brazil becoming a new member. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and $3.99 a month gets you
You
in
know
there.
what? You know what, Rob? This reminds me because last week we debuted our map, right? We showed off the map that we have that we're putting together over in the Discord so that people can see where our ultras are. And luckily the map is worldwide. It's a Google Map situation where you can drop your pins. I wasn't thinking about it being worldwide though. I was like, oh look, America. We got this side of the Mississippi and that side. But if we got Mike in Brazil, I know our man Andy, who's in here all the time. There he is, right there. I don't know if Andy's an ultra, but we've got Andy in here all the time. He goes to Colombia. He's not always in Colombia, but he's in Colombia sometimes. Like we need to be able to say, hey, we got fans, we got listeners, we got ultras all over the world.
And domestically on the team map, there's possibly a few more to add. Last week there was press release coming out of Brownsville, Texas, one of the 70 cities that USL has reached out to, and a letter of intent to explore pro soccer at the border. Brownsville, right on the southernmost part of Texas, an expanding city right there on the Mexican border, exploring the opportunity for pro soccer in Brownsville.
You are saying this is one of the 70 cities, but we don't have it from the league. This is one of our 70
An
cities.
assumption of the 70 cities.
We're putting 2 and 2 together, which you're right to do so. I mean, I think it's logically that makes sense. But that's where we're kind of, this is what we're doing, where we had Justin Papadakis go on the soccer business or the business of soccer. Which one is it? One of those two things. Shout out to our guys over there. He went on that show, he went on that podcast, and he said, we're talking to 70 cities about launching soccer teams, about building soccer stadiums. And we went 70. That's a lot. That seems like a lot.
That's a lot.
And of course, Justin is the real estate officer. And this is in fact, USL, he might as well be the expansion idea might as well be real estate, right? That's basically what's happening here. And this seems to be now, if you go, this is from the Channel 5 in Brownsville is where I clipped this story. And there's a video there, as you can see. We're not going to play it, but you got a reporter out at a stadium in Brownsville. So this is not I don't know exactly what kind of development might be done or what kind of updates might be done to that building, Rob. And this is, again, early days, and neither of us live in Brownsville, Texas. But it does seem like there's some idea of taking an existing facility and doing something with it to allow for a new team to step into this league. Now, they have had in Brownsville, they have a FC Brownsville, which is an MPSL team, and a UPSL team, which we talked about, right? Those high amateur teams, they're playing summer schedules, or the UPSL, they're playing a spring and a fall tournament. They're largely ex-college players, maybe a couple of sprinkling of pros who have a little bit of experience on other places. That team, I don't know if that team is behind this, right? And again, the city wants to get a feasibility study done to see if any upgrades are needed at Brownsville Sports Park, which would serve as the team's official site if the deal is finalized. So this is, by the way, this is the same general area as RGV Toros at Rio Grande Valley played, which we talked about recently because now the stadium that they played in, rather, is a college football stadium for the college university in Rio Grande Valley.
Bucking the trend of using football stadiums for soccer, it's the reverse there in Rio Grande Valley.
I want to show you something that I think is very pertinent to this. And again, as we talk about what USL is trying to do and how they're approaching this. So down at the bottom there of this article, which is on the screen, it says the study, right? The study around what they need to do to launch this team, improvements to Brownsville Sports Park. The study is being paid for by the United Soccer League. So this very much is something we talked about, that this is USL going out, speculating, looking, scouting for cities, saying, okay, do they have a stadium that might be able to fit a pro soccer team? Do they have X, they go down the list. Do they have this? Do they have this? Do they have a marketplace? They have fans. They have, what kind of corporate money could help support this team in town? Those kind of things. Then they go to the city and they say, hey, we think a pro soccer team might work in your town. You got a stadium? Okay, let's see if we can make that work. Maybe we try to build a stadium. Would you be interested in building a stadium? Let's see if we can find a deal. Oh, and then we'll go out and we'll connect you with somebody who's got some money who might want to invest in this. Right? This is now in my head that's cart before the horse, Rob. Do you see it that way?
To a degree, well, it makes sense that they're doing that way if they really are trying to be aggressive and push this and try to dot the map as in many ways as they possibly can. So that Papadakis quote was saying that mayors have turned a generation from baseball lovers to soccer lovers. So they are kind of going ahead and trying to find as many places where there might be an opportunity to expand, make a real estate deal, and then kind of fill in the gap. So in a sense, it's not necessarily like maybe not as grassrootsy as, oh, there's one team that's growing and they just need a little bit of a push over the edge. This is, hey, let's package something up and then get someone, try to find someone that's involved to then sprout it. So it's like, is the watering the ground before the seeds there, perhaps? It could be an
Right.
analogy for that.
I know it's taken on a negative connotation in American soccer, in particular because it stands in contrast to how clubs were launched and grew in other places around the world, where, of course, we are jealous of what England has or what Italy or France or Germany have. But this is franchising. I mean, that's what this is. This is franchising. This is going. This is saying, oh, there's a marketplace for our product. Let's go find somebody to invest in it. Now, obviously, franchising can work the other way, where you have somebody reach out to the company. They reach out to Kentucky Fried Chicken. They go, hey, this town needs a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Can I buy your franchise rights for this area? But that's what this is, right? It's just that USL is doing the work ahead of the money coming in, so they can present this to people who might otherwise be skeptical or might not otherwise want to engage with that. Because if you don't know anything about soccer or you don't have the infrastructure, there aren't that many Phil Rollinses in the world. Phil Rollins is the guy who launched a team in Austin, Texas, with the idea of one day taking it to Major League Soccer. But he did all the work. He was a soccer guy who found money or had some money and put a team in Austin. And then when it didn't work out in Austin, what did he do, Rob? He moved to Orlando. He took his team to Orlando because it wasn't working. He couldn't get the stadium he wanted to be built in Austin. He couldn't get MLS to pay attention to Austin. This is well ahead of Austin, of the team that's in there now, Austin FC. And he went to Orlando, and eventually he got more money from Brazilian investors. So what I'm saying is that this is exactly, but I don't know, as Americans, I don't know that we should be annoyed or worried about this because, again, if it is about dotting the map, which is what we're saying around here, if we do want to have more clubs in places that we think can support clubs, we can't be too precious about the way it happens. We cannot be too precious about whether some guy with money in Brownsville is like, I want to launch a team, or a community wants to launch a team in Brownsville and somehow scrapes together the money. If it requires USL to do the work, okay. By the way, the other part of this, and I know it's a weird time for this, is that this is a city you said it's on the border. It's way down there in that bottom part of Texas. It is about as far south as you can go.
Yeah.
And it's right across the border from Matamoros, Mexico. And I don't know how that marketplace might interact. Like, is this a team for Brownsville? Sure. Could it also be a team for some of those Mexican fans who can cross the border and maybe go to a game? That's a good question.
Do we want to look? I don't know if this is the exact thing they're going to turn out with, but I thought that was a pretty interesting way to unveil their situationship with the soccer. Is this jersey here?
You can see the Mexican influence in the pattern that's on that shirt. I guess 956 is probably their area code. I'm gonna guess that's the area code for Brownsville. I don't know. That's a color, man. If they play in that is a color. Like, that is a choice. Not a lot of teams doing that in 2025. I think we just had a Premier League team playing brown. Who was playing in brown this past weekend, Rob? Did you see that?
I didn't catch much Premier League this weekend, other than my Liverpool guys squeaking one by. But that is a choice, and I commend anyone for making bold choices. Hopefully, the numbers on the back will stand out a little bit more. Brown on brown, not easy for the play-by-play commentators to note the players. We only have a moment left. Do we want to note the team coming to Memphis and maybe a little bit of the confusion there? But Memphis 901. They went away, unfortunately, a year or so back. So Memphis without a team, but another local channel number 5 in Memphis, Tennessee, reporting a team. They're calling it pro, but is actually a USL 2 team, Memphis FC. So lovers of the football in Memphis will have something to cheer for in 2026 if this all pans out. But USL 2 level, maybe a little bit of a misnomer going on with what is a semi-pro team, what is a fully pro team. But Memphis, what do you think of this badge?
I don't mind the badge. I like the badge. I don't know. They're design people will tell you that the whole like circular, I think it's like a roundel. It's a roundel.
Yeah, I
I don't
think
know
you're
how you
right.
say it. Yeah, they'll tell you that's overplayed. That it got used a little bit too much in recent years, but I like it. I like that lion is not particularly striking in any real way, but obviously Memphis has that's a thing, right? That this idea of what Memphis is named after an Egyptian city, all those things, all those links. I don't know exactly where they're going with this. I don't mind the badge. I do think it's interesting. There's a little brand confusion, right? And I don't know if I'm not blaming Jacob Gallant, who wrote this piece on the website for the local news station, but it does say new pro soccer team coming to Memphis. And then after a brief hiatus, professional soccer is returning to Memphis. Now, in a subsequent line in the story, it does say semi-pro USL League Two. And of course, that's very different than the team he's referencing when he says after a brief hiatus, because Memphis 901 was a USL championship team playing second division soccer in America. Now, they were playing in a minor league ballpark, and there were lots of things that were, not top level about Memphis 901, but it didn't work out. They couldn't figure out a stadium solution with that minor league baseball stadium not working out anymore. And their franchise rights got sold to Santa Barbara. So, this is a story of American soccer in microcosm. A team comes to town, does some things. Tim Howard was involved. I think Tim Howard played for Memphis
Yeah,
901.
he was there that first year of the team, I believe he played.
Yeah, he played in Memphis. He was part of the ownership group. They were trying to make this work. They had this whole like musical element. Like, I think the badge was like a record or something. It was kind of like referencing some of the musical history of Memphis, and it just didn't work. Like, it died. It's a dead club now. And I think I actually probably have a Memphis 901 thing in my studio right now, because what do? I collect dead soccer club stuff. Not because I'm looking for them, but because they come to me while the club exists and then the club dies. So bang, it's gone. And I hate that, right? I hate that that's what happens. And what that the tension there, Rob, is start the club at the risk that it doesn't work, right? Start the club at the risk that you're going to collapse, that your stadium deal is not going to work out, that you're going to run out of money, that the fans won't show up, or take a shot. Like we have, and I know we have people in our chat on a regular basis who say clubs need to die so that other clubs can learn from their mistakes and live. And maybe that's true. I guess I can understand that philosophy, but I definitely think it hurts the marketplace for soccer in a given town when a team that people either get attached to or slowly become aware of drops off the face of the planet. Like, why would you engage with a professional soccer club in a town if you don't know if they're going to last? Why take your kids out to a game if next year that team won't be there and you're going to have to explain to your kid why that club is not there anymore?
And it'll be interesting the approach of if this intention is to eventually become a pro team. Is it better to splash onto the scene and introduce your product as it is from day one, or garner some support, grow it foundational, learn from your mistakes at the amateur level where the budgets aren't as high, as the gamble isn't as high, but you're associated with amateurism? Or is it start small and then expand out? What is the preferred way? What is the brand recognition? Do they present themselves in a way of like, this is a small start to something that turns big, that what like a la Fort Wayne is trying to do, or what Detroit
Right.
did?
Right.
Or is it like setting yourself up like, oh, that's just the amateur team?
Yeah, that's a problem. I do think that you building slow, being reasonable with your expectations, being smart about how ambitious you are to begin makes a lot of sense. Now, capturing enough attention to build momentum, that's what you're talking about. That's the thing that is harder, right? Is like, okay, they're playing this team is going to play at the Mike Rose Soccer Complex. 2,500 seats there in Memphis. And
They're
I don't
playing
know
in a
the
soccer thing. That's a start. They're playing in a
That's a
soccer
start.
thing.
They're playing in a soccer stadium. They're not playing in a baseball stadium or a high school football stadium. They're playing in a soccer venue. 2,500 seats is not much, Rob. It's not a lot of people. Now, again, we've talked about we just did that video on Miami FC wanting to build a stadium in Homestead. They average 1,000 fans per game right now playing at FIU, and it doesn't make sense for them to be there anymore. And people say, oh, it's gonna fail in Homestead because look at how few fans they draw. Now, you could also argue that they're trying to keep themselves going by moving to a slightly different place and maybe capturing a new fan base. And again, maybe the stadium makes them more interesting. This micro soccer complex is nowhere near downtown Memphis. It is a ways out. It's in Memphis, but it's a ways out. Is this going to be a thing that is relevant to Memphis's sports scene, or is it going to be a curiosity that a few people go out and support? And again, it's a short season team too right now. It's a USL League 2 team. They're going to play 3 months. They're going to come and go. So the diehards may show up, but is this the kind of thing that has a future, or should it? Like, should the people starting Memphis Football Club go, we really want to get to that top level, or we want to be Division 1 USL one day? Or should they just go, let's just start here and do something and see what happens? And if we're smart about it, then we can build, right? And Huey, who just became an MK Ultra, shout out Huey. Yeah. 2,500 full seats is better than 15,000 half empty. Agreed.
Couldn't agree more. The USL2 team I support, we played in a slightly smaller stadium for a rearrangement, and having a smaller stadium packed shoulder to shoulder brought a whole different kind of atmosphere and a whole different thing. And I was just going to say, we saw an article talking about like probably the best approach for USL is to like just keep doing what they're doing 10, 20 years, look up from now, and then see if they're competing at the top level. With this, it's interesting to see what the approach is. Like last week with the Miami thing, build a 15,000 person stadium and see what fills up, or start small and build out. But, and we're really in the planning the seeds thing. And it'll be interesting to see which of these ethos or business models works out.
You could argue that USL, with their approach, 70 cities, conversations, Brownsville, who else have we been talking about recently that is just in the very beginning phases of maybe putting a team in their town. I mean, every week Rob and I meet and we're like, oh, there's a new team being announced, so there's new effort, there's new studies happening, there's new this, new that. That is aggressive. Right? It's extremely aggressive. It is not sort of sit there, wait for people to come to you and say, hey, we want to start a soccer team in our town. How much does it cost? $5 million? We're in. This is actively going out and trying to plant the seeds. It's actively going out and looking for people, because you are striking while the iron is hot. Soccer is growing in a way, and this is partly due to MLS, but partly due to other factors as well. Soccer is growing in a way it never has before. So I don't blame them. But that is aggressive, and that's not sitting back and going, let's just keep working on our stuff and let's worry about our side of the street and then we'll get there one day. This is pushing the envelope. D1 is pushing the envelope. ProRel is pushing the envelope. 70 cities pushing the envelope.
Yeah, definitely pushing the agenda, trying to grow the map and dot the map in their own way. Speaking of dotting the map, thank you so much to Chris for becoming a new member today. Mike in Brazil, thank you for becoming a member over the weekend. And if you want to become a member, $3.99 a month is all it takes to do that. Doesn't cost you a thing to become a subscriber, and it definitely doesn't cost you anything to tell your friends and family about our show and how much you are enjoying the content. You can find us on social media at mkickaround, or write us an email. We've been getting some nice emails. morningkickaround@gmail.com.